Welcome, millionaires. I'm your host, Johnny Mind Question Sherrod. I want to thank you guys for dialing in on this call again today. And for those of you that just joined us on this call today, I want to let you guys know that every week these calls are full of stories, strategies, and secrets of the super wealthy. I want to welcome you all to Obsessed with Success. And right now I'm going to move out of the way and introduce you guys to a master marketer, a phenomenal leader, mentor, one of the greatest mindset trainers of all time, and a self-esteem developed expert, Mr. Haziq Ali. Are you on the line, sir?
Yeah, I'm here, Mr. Sherrod. I appreciate that. Welcome, millionaires, to call number 46 of Obsessed with Success. We are really in a special time, y'all. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys don't. But I'm something of an entrepreneur supremacist. Like, I believe we're the cream of planet Earth. I believe that we deserve to live in majestic luxury, because creativity is next to godliness. Without us, you don't have the iPhone, you don't have automobiles, you don't have Google, you don't have airplanes. And because of this, I think that personal development and entrepreneur support is about the highest thing that we can be doing with our life. We should be supporting the maximum access to potential that each of us can gain. Everything that we do every day should be about inspiring that in each other. It does nothing to your candle to light somebody else's candle. So I want to welcome you guys to call number 46. My name is Haziq Ali. My Instagram is Haziq Ali. My Facebook is Haziq Ali. If there's any way that I can help in any way, shape, form, or fashion, please don't hesitate to let me know, because I personally believe the most selfish thing that we can do for ourselves is serve somebody else. So today we're going to get into the 12 mental toughness secrets of the world class. The 12 mental toughness secrets of the world class. I hope everybody has pen and paper. I know you guys do. This is going to be vital to your 2015. We're wrapping up 2014 right now, but it's not to say it's over just yet, because as some of you guys know, there's some miraculous things that can happen in just a couple weeks. But what is it about certain people that seems to make them soar above the average, and then others sort of stay where they are? Well, let's get into it. Secret number one is that discipline is an illusion. Ladies and G's, it's really about habits and vision. Discipline is an illusion. It's really about your habits and your vision. One of my favorite stories involves an experiment that they did at NASA. Now, there at NASA, you understand it, like, these guys are personal development freaks. And so one day they were doing an experiment where they had the astronauts put on what they call concave glasses so that they could get used to looking at life with anti-gravity, so that everything looks upside down. And they wanted to see how the astronauts would respond to that. Well, how sick would they get? How would it work in terms of them being able to eat, sleep, et cetera, so forth. So they had them put on these concave glasses that turn the world upside down. And they noticed something really interesting. After about 28 days, the astronauts' vision switched back to right side up. Even though they were still wearing the glasses nonstop while they ate, while they drank, while they slept, after about 28 days, the astronauts' vision switched back right side up. What did that tell them? That told them that the brain, this supercomputer that we all have with us at all times, basically took all of the stimuli, and because it's a success machine, it says, oh, this is what we're dealing with right now? Boom. Let's switch it around, because it's more efficient for us to achieve our goals if we go ahead and switch this wiring right here. So they tried it again a couple weeks later, but this time, instead of wearing the glasses for 28 days straight, the astronauts were allowed to take the glasses off while they slept and while they ate. Well, the people's vision never switched back around. It's all about consistency. It's all about conditioning. It's all about building the path of least resistance to the exact goal that you want. And that's what that experiment proved. So when you hear people talking about discipline, or when you say to yourself that I wish I was a little bit more disciplined, or you find yourself admiring someone else's discipline, 9 times out of 10, what you're really admiring is their habits. A guy named Roger Graham talks about how with self-discipline, anything is possible. I believe discipline is the ultimate key to success as it determines your approach towards every day. Discipline keeps you focused and keeps you performing at a world-class level. But you can take every single time that he used the word discipline and you can switch it to the word habits. Look at your habits. Look at your habits. Are your habits the types of habits that someone that was a world-class performer in your field would have? Here are some action steps. Grade yourself from 1 to 7 on how disciplined you are in the following areas: business and career, family and friends, money and finances, recreation and fun, because the world class are all extremely balanced, health and diet, faith, spirituality, social, cultural, and personal development, of course. Now, when I say the world class are extremely balanced, really I'm talking, I got a small caveat for that. Really, I'm talking about after they get there. On the trip up the ladder, nobody's balanced. We're going to get to that in a minute. But in that trip up the ladder, you're not going to find much balance in anybody who wants to be great for life. You're going to find obsession. That's why we call this called Obsessed with Success, right? But let's move on because we got a lot to cover. Number 2, the great are the most enthusiastic people alive. Ladies and G's, have you ever noticed that a lot of times the average people in our life, they find themselves getting enthusiastic about Sports Center? What if instead of getting enthusiastic about Sports Center, you decided to treat your life as a sport and make that the center of your world? A lot of people around you are just basically, instead of looking at life like as a game, the way the world class do, where they're all about killing it and all about playing it like it's a game. They're all about saying, you know, oh, well, not what if, like my homegirl says. If you notice a lot of the average, it's almost like they just want to slide safely into their tombstone. I want to encourage everybody to begin looking at life like it's a big old game. Look at life like you're here to play as hard as you can. Leave it all on the floor. If they tell you no, laugh it off and ask them why. Here's an action step for that one. Make a list of the 5 activities in your life for which you have the most enthusiasm. Next, you might want to ask yourself this critical thinking question, because don't get it twisted. Most of the world class go to therapists just to have them ask them critical thinking questions. That's the highest form of thinking you can do. So ask yourself this critical thinking question after you list the 5 activities in your life for which you have the most enthusiasm. Ask yourself this: is there anyone who makes a living doing this? Because I'm going to tell you something about the world class. You can't name me a single profession that someone out here isn't getting rich doing it. So that just goes to show you the same way that a great salesman, a top 1% salesman, outsells an average salesman by 57 to 1. It's really all about your enthusiasm. And we'll get to that a little bit more later, because that one it can be also said another way, but just think about that. So number 2 is the great are the most enthusiastic people alive. Number 3, this rule I love, because I've been a lone wolf for most of my entrepreneurial life, and anybody that really knows me can tell you that, but I'm changing. Ladies and G's, if you can do it by yourself, you probably ain't doing nothing. Think about this for a minute. A millionaire's minimum wage is about $524 an hour. We ain't even going to talk about a billionaire, because some of you guys got in your affirmations, I'm going to be a billionaire, et cetera, so forth. Well, tell me something. If a millionaire's minimum wage is $524 an hour, don't you think it would be a good move if you started cutting more minimum wage activities out of your life I mean, average person minimum wage, right? What is it? $8 an hour, $9 an hour, whatever minimum wage is. At what point is it time to cut that out of your life? It's all about having a team. It's all about making sure that you put together a team that can help you win. Because think about it. Without a team, what do we have? What do we have if we don't have a team? Champions are interdependent. If we're to compete effectively in today's world, we've got to begin to celebrate collective entrepreneurship. I'm talking about endeavors in which 1 + 1 can equal 11. We've got to honor our teams more and stop celebrating this myth of the lone wolf. Whether you're talking about Martin Luther King, whether you're talking about Steve Jobs, these people were not these singular, sort of like legendary Marlboro men that everybody makes it sound like. There are vast. There's a book everybody might want to write down called Outliers that kind of breaks this down a little bit for people. But in that book, Outliers, it talks about how Bill Gates didn't become Bill Gates by himself. He didn't even become Bill Gates with just Paul Allen. But if you study his story, he happened to be near one of the only 2 or 3 computer clubs in the whole United States. He happened to have parents that could afford to, they had the influence to talk to this college about letting the high school students that were really interested in computers go up there and play with them on the weekends and after school. With Rosa Parks, somebody like Rosa Parks. That didn't just happen in a vacuum. What happened is Martin Luther King, somebody else had gotten arrested for the same thing about a week earlier than Rosa Parks, when you want to talk about the civil rights struggle. And, it was just Martin Luther King. But what happened was she was a single mom. She had a child out of wedlock or something like that. And then a whole different conversation, but I think she was also dark-skinned or something, whatever, a whole different conversation. But when they found Rosa Parks, this young, beautiful, good girl, they had her do the same incident, knowing the bus driver would play it the same way, and that's what set off the civil rights struggle. With the point being that if you can do it by yourself, you ain't doing crap. Amateurs feel threatened by the group and set out for credit, while the greats do the exact opposite. That takes us to number 4. Attitude determines altitude. And some of us have heard this before, but it's a true statement. Truer things were never said. A world-class attitude leads to world-class happiness. There's a story about these shoe salesmen where they both go to the third world country, and one writes his home office when they're leaving, when he arrives. One sends back a message to his home office. Hey, y'all, nobody even wears shoes here. We've wasted our time. The other salesman, who just landed in the same exact country, saw the same exact condition, writes back to his home office, hey, y'all, nobody even wears shoes here. Send me everything we got in the warehouse. That's attitude. Attitude determines altitude. If there's a one-word definition of attitude, it's life. It's a treasure that lies within yourself. Attitude dictates whether you're living life or if life is living you. Ladies and G's, are you on your way? Are you in the way? There's one way you can tell. It's your attitude. Always remember this if you don't remember nothing else. It is much easier to act your way into feeling a certain way than it is to feel your way into acting. You want to learn how to talk to yourself instead of listen to yourself. We'll get to that in a minute, but listening to yourself has all its own dangers. And if you're going to listen to yourself, listen to your heart. Because in my humble experience, It's the head that has all the questions, but the heart that has all of the answers. But when it comes to your head, you better talk to it, not listen to it, or you'll never do anything that could change your life. Number 5, your network is about nurture, not nature. What do I mean by that? Yo, it is so easy to go to some chicken dinner and collect business cards of a bunch of average, mediocre, hate to say it, we're not judging nobody, but losers. Average people. Think about it. It's really average to lose. I don't want those business cards. No. The world class literally craft their networking schedule. They literally carve out. They understand that the most valuable assets they have are their personal and professional networks. Ladies and G's, the right relationship can literally propel you to the ranks of the world class. The world class, the top 1%, they see this as a game of symbiotic, synergistic relationship give and take. Nobody's keeping score. Everybody's saying, how can I help you when they need help? And as you know from the law of reciprocity that we've discussed on past calls, it's just something in the subconscious mind. It's just a law of nature. But when somebody gives you something, you just don't feel right until you give something back. We breathe in oxygen from the plants. We breathe out carbon dioxide for the plants. The world class, the top 1%, they realize that the power of contacts has put way more than one president in the White House, way more than one CEO in office, way more than one general has taken over a country because he had the right relationships with the army, right? So if you want to invest time networking with other members of the world class, strategically place yourself in world-class settings. Go to fundraisers. Go to benefits, political functions. I'm about to learn how to play golf. Hit the country club. It's the middle class that's collecting business cards at the fast food restaurant. That's not what winners do, y'all. And the difference in this strategy is profound. But it requires something that only the top 1% possess, and that is supreme self-confidence. So here's the action step for that one. Make 2 separate lists of contacts. The first list is your top 100. Now, this list is going to consist of the 100 most powerful people you know who will return your phone calls. Now, the second list is the Dream 100, the Fantasy 100. This list consists of the 100 most powerful people that you would love to have return your phone calls. So set a goal going into 2015 to convert as many people from your Fantasy 100 to your Reality 100. Now remember, the thing that's most in the way, standing between you and your ultimate vision, is the help and support of other people. One contact can literally change your life, much less 100. So let's move on. Number 6. So number 5, y'all, was your network is about nurture, not nature. Not where are you naturally, but where can you put yourself so that you can change your life. Number 6. Everybody on the planet is thirsty for 2 things. Everybody. And that's recognition and vision. The reason why I love entrepreneurs is that we're the ones that cast the vision without which the suckers perish. Everybody wants a vision. And if you're going to do what one of my mentors, Carlton Calhoun, calls transformational leadership, you're going to need to have a vision that's so big, other people can see their vision inside it. Other people can see themselves becoming what they need to be that. So champions praise people lavishly and often. A lot of people don't realize this, but appreciative words are the most powerful force on earth for good. Now, amateurs tend to see praise as like a luxury. They dole it out sparingly, like, oh, this person doesn't deserve it. They better had did it. But I don't know if y'all know, most people are literally starving for praise. And it's only because 95% of the population are such amateurs in the art of communication. We are emotional creatures. We have a high need, some would say an addiction, to praise, the sweet-sounding words of recognition. So if you want to be a top 1%er, if you want to be somebody that's a professional, high-class performer, you can't be scared to praise the same person too often for fear of diminishing the power of your work. People can tell if it's a sincere praise, and what you should be doing is waiting to catch them doing something right. You want to catch them doing something that merits praise. You don't want to do it so much that it sounds fake, but you do want to realize that all doors open with enough praise and courtesy. Now, what about the recognition, right? Like what about the idea that people love being recognized and having vision? I think it's Napoleon. Napoleon was like, I've discovered a fascinating thing. People will die for ribbons. Think about that. People in the army are dying for ribbons. Now, we know they're dying for something a little bit deeper than that, but great leaders understand recognition. Amateurs don't know themselves as well as they might think. The human mind is a complex thing. So then what about vision? What can you do to make sure that the people around you understand where you're headed? With the proper vision, 80% of your decisions are already made. With the proper vision, you don't have to micromanage the people around you. With the proper vision, they're going to use their own God-given creativity, and they're going to show you ways to do it that maybe you didn't even think of. It is never money and material possessions that keep employees happy. It's vision and it's recognition. Because vision means that when they make a move, there's some fulfillment hiding in that action. And recognition means that when they make a move, there's some fulfillment hiding in the result. Number 7, the top 1% will pay the cost to be the boss. They bleed with a smile. They bleed with a smile, y'all. I don't know how many people know, but this 8-hour work week that everybody loves, it was invented by an entrepreneur. It was invented by Henry Ford, of all people. He was trying to attract the best employees because at this point he had a system that he knew was going to kill him, but he didn't want to kill him literally. So he came up with the 8-hour work week, lunch breaks. He paid them way more than anybody else did at that time. But here's a quote I love. I'm wondering what had happened to me if some fluent talker had converted me to the theory of the 8-hour day and convinced me that it was not fair to my fellow workers to put forth my best efforts in my work. I'm glad the 8-hour day had not been invented when I was a young man. If my life had been made up of 8-hour days, I don't believe I could have accomplished a great deal. This country would not amount to as much as it has if the young men of 50 years ago had been afraid that they might earn more than they were paid for. That was Thomas Edison. Famous thief, but that's a whole different conversation. He holds the most patents in history with like 1,093 patents. He stole the idea for the light bulb from my five great uncle, a guy named Lewis Latimer. Lewis Latimer and Granville T. Woods would draw out all of the designs for Edison's patent. But because of civilization being the way it was in America, people weren't always given the proper credit. Well, Thomas Edison went and got the patents filled out, so now he holds the most patents on planet Earth, 1,093, the most of all time. They cut off his gas. He famously founded General Electric, right? But the whole point that he's making is still a solid one. The world class, the top 1%, is always willing to pay the price. Now, middle class consciousness is convinced there's a shortcut to success, and they are bound and determined. I'm talking about if they were as obsessed with success as they were with finding shortcuts, ooh, they'd be dangerous. But I'm sorry to tell you, the only price for success is blood, sweat, and the tears of delayed gratification. There's only the pain and suffering of practice. There's no escape from it. If you want to escape from it, your best bet is to love what you're doing, which goes back to one of our earlier points, right? Write this down, y'all. Paying the price weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. That's Jim Rohn. Paying the price weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. So then, the only intelligent choice is paying a price. The alternative is mental torture. Success is a toll road. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And you already know what it's like when you pay something that you didn't have the cash for up front. Interest, baby. So here's the action step for this one. Ask this critical thinking question. Do my current habits, actions, and behaviors suggest I'm more interested in instant pleasure than I am delayed gratification? Now, if the answer is instant pleasure, don't be mad at yourself. It's just like everybody around you. Why do you think everybody watches reality TV? Have you ever wondered that? I think it probably started with Jerry Springer, right? Why does everybody watch that bull crap? It's because you can watch that and feel like your life ain't too bad no more. You're like, wow, she's ratchet. You know what? I feel a little bit better. You didn't even have to change, right? You didn't even have to change to feel better, but that's a weak high. That's a lame way to feel better about yourself. When real happiness comes from what you got happening. So if you're ready to break free of that little high, that pleasure loop that leads to regret, decide today that you're going to begin pursuing a path of delayed gratification. Look at those habits. Look at those actions. Look at those behaviors. This don't mean you can't enjoy pleasure. It just means that you're going to focus on the tasks. It means you're going to focus on the goals, the activities that give you gratification for a lifetime instead of just a few minutes. Or like y'all know I always say, instead of a happy hour, you're going to find yourself with a happy life. I hope that makes sense, y'all. Number 8, personal development is like a religion for the top 1%. I was telling somebody the other day that I personally, this is just my opinion, not our sponsors, right? But I personally feel like personal development is a translation of religious scriptures. When somebody like Napoleon Hill says, go the extra mile, did that not come from the cat they called Jesus, telling them to carry those buckets that the Romans was making them carry 1 mile? And he said, carry it an extra mile. But when you translate that in today's language, is not going the extra mile the key to getting a promotion or a raise or making yourself invaluable at your workplace? Is going the extra mile not what Steve Jobs did by dropping a new version of the iPhone every single few years, like few months? It seems like every few months, at least once a year. He understands that technology keeps increasing. So why not do what I can to be the first? Because anything that's wow is going to breed loyalty. You've got to put yourself in the mind state that you're going to underpromise and over-deliver. That's going the extra mile. That's personal development. Let's look at another one. I've been talking to a few people the past few days, and it seems like a few people are so used to being the one that always gives it out right? They're always the one that's always helping other people out. And now that they're down bad and they need to raise $200, let's say, they're like, oh, man, I ain't really the type to be asking people for stuff. But the reason they call it personal development is that it's short for personality development. Why is every religious scripture mostly networking advice? It's because millionaires, the people, is who have all the money. It's not the banks. It's not the stock exchange. It's not Fort Knox. It's the people that have all of the money. Y'all understand that? Is that true or is that true? So when these scriptures say things like, ask and ye shall receive, and yet you talking about, I'm not the type that really asks nobody for nothing. It's time for you to re-examine your mentors and make sure they still qualify. There's a story I told at our training this past weekend. And for some of you guys that didn't make it, I think that this describes personal development just perfectly. Because what you got to remember is that, well, again, according to my studies, what I teach is that every child was born a genius. It's society that dumbs us down. I give you a small example, right? These doctors, today's doctors will tell you your tonsils are useless. So somebody will get tonsillitis or something like that, and they'll just cut the person's tonsils out, right? But nothing could be further from the truth. Do you know that there is a divine vibration that comes when you do a certain meditation where you do Om? Do you know you can't do that if you don't have tonsils? OHM, Om. That's a divine sound that you can call up when you want to meditate. This is what they do over in the Eastern practices. These cats, they be walking on water and levitating and all of that. Which, by the way, that's what deserves reality shows, right? People like this dude, John of God, that'll heal you a liver cancer by scraping some crap off your eyeball, right? Or he healed Wayne Dyer by having him dress in all white, drink a glass of water, and then go to sleep. And then he healed him with no surgery. Oh, did I mention he was 10,000 miles away at the time? My point is that it's your tonsils, right? Or how about when a baby is crying and then the mother's breast just starts lactating? Is that not proof that we have telepathy? That we're born with the ability to communicate without our tongues and our voices? Well, there's a story about this these three Buddha statues that I think sums it up out in Bangkok, Thailand, right? There's a jade Buddha, there's a reclining Buddha, and then there's this golden Buddha. And when you visit it, off to the side in the case, there's like a piece of clay. It's like 1 foot thick, 2 feet tall. And if you read the inscription, they tell you this story about how back in 1953, they wanted to move this big clay Buddha. There was no golden Buddha. There was just this big clay Buddha. It was still the jade Buddha and the reclining Buddha. But then there was this big clay one. And, you know, it's just clay, so they wanted to remove it out the way so they could build a highway. You know, sound like America, right? So then they pick it up with these cranes, and they hear a loud crack. So they immediately sat it down because it's like, oh, no, we're about to destroy a historical artifact. And they cover it with tarp. The head monk has them cover it with tarp so that they can continue tomorrow after they make sure it's okay. So that night it's raining. The head monk goes out there to check on it, and he's got a flashlight. He picks up the tarp, kind of shines it in there, and something glints back. So he thinks to himself, wow, that's weird, because obviously clay doesn't reflect light like that. So in the morning they went back out to see what was going on. So they pulled the tarp off, and in a section of the monk where no one could see it in case they messed it up, they took a knife and kind of dug into this clay a little bit. Now, obviously, when they dug it off, they started finding gold. They peeled back the clay. They peeled back more of it. They peeled back even more still, and they found that this thing was a solid $150 million of gold, and that's just the gold. Never mind the historical value or the artistic value of carving this into a Buddha. My point is, the clay was put on it. Our best stories about it are that when they were being attacked and massacred, one of the monks covered it with clay so everybody would think it was worthless. And then they were all massacred, so the secret died with those monks. Well, how many of us are covered with clay and therefore think that we're worthless? How many of us are covered with the clay of guilt, fear, discouragement from our parents, preachers, and teachers constantly telling us what we couldn't do? Do you know scientists say that if you grew up in a reasonably positive household, you heard no and what you couldn't or shouldn't do 148,000 times? You only heard positive statements a few hundred times, all during your childhood? That's if you lived in a reasonably positive household. We don't blame our parents for that. They just wanted to keep us safe. But the whole point is that that stuff wears on you. It begins to become this clay over you. The next thing you know, you believe them. You turn 18, and now you don't need them to tell you no, stop, or you couldn't, or you shouldn't. Now you're telling yourself that. Pretty amazing. And it also warrants not self-improvement, which is what a lot of people think personal development is. No, it's self-discovery. The word discover comes from to uncover. How many times have you read a book or heard a speaker say something, and it feels to you like you're just remembering it? Not even that you're learning, right? It feels to you like you just remembered it. That's because you already knew. I believe that you were born knowing everything you need to know, and it's just that we forget or that we're dumbed down. So when they tell you that personal development is like a religion for the top 1%, that's not blasphemy. It's the fact that you've got to treat this stuff like you need to access your divine ability. Let's, for the purposes of this call, say that success is access to your maximum potential. And that leads us to number 9. The top 1% do it for self-respect. This is a self-respect thing. I had a guy ask me if he could borrow the money that he needed to get started with me in business. And I told him, like, yeah, I could do that, but all it would make you do is lose self-respect. All I would do is cripple you. Do you guys know what happens if you wear a cast too long? It's the law of usage. The muscle will atrophy, and you will cripple that leg forever. What happens if you sit down too long? Your legs go to sleep, and now you can't even use them for a few seconds. You got to do it for self-respect. If you can't raise $200, what you going to do when it's time to raise $200,000? When it's time to raise $2 million? Y'all know how it goes. The man, might set the alarm clock. I'm going to wake up this morning and exercise. But then the alarm goes off. He hits the snooze button. We all got a home girl. Oh, I'm going to wake up this morning and go walking. When it's time to get up and walk, she hits the snooze button. You do that 3, 4, 5 days in a row, and what happens after that? They stop even setting the alarm. Why? Because they are officially looking in the mirror at a sucker. They're officially feeling like they're a chump. They've lost self-respect. They now no longer even believe nothing they say. So how's somebody else going to believe it? You start wondering why nobody wants to follow you, why you could be in a burning building, and they would die of smoke inhalation rather than follow you. Because they're like, I really don't think she know where she's going. I'm going to turn right. She turned left. I'm going. And then you kill them for your lack of leadership skills. Here, you knew where to go, and now you're about to kill your people just because they don't believe in you and don't think you have any idea what you're doing. That's cold. But it's because you don't have self-respect. And if you don't have self-respect, who else is going to respect you? You can tell somebody with self-respect because they rarely disrespect others. If you have self-respect, you kind of like the dude Esau or Jesus, where it's like, forgive them, Pops, they know not what they do. Here's an action step for self-respect. Dang, we running out of time. Another critical thinking question. What habit, action, or behavior could I upgrade or change that would increase my self-respect. And then make a commitment in writing to do it. We call those affirmations. Let's hurry up and move on. All right, number 10. The great ones make the complex simple. The great ones make the complex simple. Albert Einstein did the theory of relativity. I talked about it this weekend in training. All E equals MC squared, it says, is that energy at a certain vibrating speed becomes matter. Your thoughts are energy. The car you're riding in right now is energy. The phone that you're holding or listening to is energy. It's all energy, right? But he described it even more simple. He was like, hey, have you ever been around a girl that you like and time flies? Versus you're around somebody you don't like and it's like time grinds to a halt? He was like, that's the theory of relativity. Simple. Let's move on so I can get y'all out of here on time. Number 11, never say die. Famous bike rider and, hate to say it, but turns out he was a cheater, right? He was taking like steroids and stuff, but he did have testicular cancer. So I was wondering how he won the Tour de France when he had cancer in his, family jewels and all of that. And that's where a bike, I was like, good grief. I don't blame him. But anyway, his whole thing is that the race don't even get interesting until it becomes a suffer fest. Well, one of my mentors, a guy named Rico McDaniel, he talks about how you got to suffer till you succeed. The top 1% understand that you never say die. You never say die. The minute you decide that you've got that kind of attitude, you're already winning. Mike Tyson would call it skullduggery. Let's hurry up. Number 12, champions know doing real good is really bad. Champions know doing real good is real bad. People think the good and great are cousins, and really they're sworn enemies. A lot of times I always talk about how people be praying to God, thanking God for their blessings, right? But they don't realize what they're really thanking God for is their harvest. If you want to know what blessings really are, it's a huge loss. Think about it. An alcoholic don't stop drinking because he made it home safe. An alcoholic stops drinking when he hits the school bus. Think about that now. If you're doing okay, you ain't about to change. Unfortunately, we're wired this weird way where pain is there because it's the ultimate change agent. So you want to ask yourself sometimes, not why is this happening to me? You want to ask, why did this happen for me? Because champions know that doing real good is really bad. And I'm going to give you guys one bonus one. Self-esteem is the key to success. You guys know me as a self-esteem development expert, so you know I can't give it to you in terms of the top 1% without laying that down for you. If you want to know a real simple concept about self-esteem, just look at it as a thermostat. You've got a thermostat that controls your health. You got a thermostat that controls your income. You got a thermostat that controls your relationships. Just a little personal story, right? I always liked women that were like a little bit like, shall we say, my thermostat was set to them not being all that. I would have 8 or 9 good girls that loved me. And then I would have this one real girl. It's like my thermostat was set to, I want a girl that's going to cheat on me. So that's what I would get time and time and time again. It's like for some reason I thought that maybe it was a challenge or something like that, but it was my thermostat level. It was my self-esteem level that made me want this type of girl. Now, if like a thermostat is set to 70 degrees and it gets hot outside, what's going to happen? The AC is going to come on to keep you at 70. If it gets cold outside, what's going to happen? The heat's going to come on to keep you at 70. So maybe I wouldn't date a straight prostitute, right? Because, it's too cold. And that heat comes on and gets me to 70. But when the good girl would come along, I'd be like, oh, no, she just don't turn me on, cuz. Right? Somebody can relate to me. Don't leave me out there by myself. My whole point is that same thing is for your money. So if between the ages of 2 and 12, your family is constantly pumping you with, no, stop, no, stop, color between the lines, no, stop, no, stop. You can't afford that. You're not good at that. No, stop. I love you, baby, but you're going to get hurt out there. No, stop, no. Baby, you can't trust them people. No, stop. Don't talk to strangers. No. Before you know it, you turn 18, and now when somebody presents you with an opportunity that could change your thermostat level, you think you're thinking, and really you're just playing recordings, is the way I always put it. You start having a recording going in your head that's telling you, no, stop, no, stop. You didn't even really think about it because your self-esteem level says that you need to keep it at 70. If somebody comes along and tries to raise your temperature, it's over for you. You've already decided that ain't for you, and it could be tragic. If you're not living the lifestyle that you want to live, it is a tragic thing. Because I've never met a rich man who didn't love opportunity, just like I've never met a poor man who wasn't scared of it. So those are the 12 mental toughness secrets, and I gave you a bonus one, so that was 13 mental toughness secrets of the world class. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If anybody has any questions, we'll do it for like 5 minutes, because y'all know I try to get y'all out of here on time, and that was 45 minutes about a minute ago. But if you want to unmute yourself, push *6 and tell us where you're from and who put you on the call. Anybody got any feedback or questions? Okay. I think it's *5 or *6.
Hey, Haziq.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Okay. We seem to be having technical difficulties. I think *5 unmutes you. Or *.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Haziq, I have one question. As far as influence the subconscious mind, what's the best way to do that, in your opinion?
That's an awesome question. It's all about the superconscious mind, right? So one way to do it is put yourself in the alpha. This is like
I was just letting you know it's time to have them down. Sorry about it.
Hey, Mr. Sherrod, did you unmute everybody? Okay, so the superconscious mind is amazing because it's the easiest thing to get to, and then it's the hardest thing to get to. So one thing about the superconscious is that when you're really, really about to go to sleep or you just woke up, either time, your brain is hella drowsy. So with that said, that's when you have access, direct access, just like your parents, preachers, and teachers had direct access to your brain between 2 and 12. So that's a good time to read your affirmations. Next week, we're going to go through how exactly to do affirmations using a system that peak performance scientists have come up with called VAX that deals with visual, audio, kinesthetic, and spiritual. But a quick, easy answer to it is to do your affirmations either when you just wake up and you're drowsy or you're about to go to sleep and you're drowsy, because that's when your superconscious mind has its defenses down and you can insert what you want directly into it. I hope that helps a little bit. All right, if anybody else has anything, you can push *5 and unmute yourself. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll fix this by next week, y'all. If you can't unmute yourself, then I apologize. Yeah. What's your name and where you from?
Hey, it's Jamal. Haziq. What's going on?
Everything is well.
From Atlanta. I was letting you know that it's *6 to unmute yourself. I think that might be the problem.
Okay. Well, yeah, y'all heard him. *6. Thank you.
Haziq.
Yes, sir.
Josh Gray, Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Nice. Listen to it at work. I wasn't able to catch everything that I wanted to catch
do you have like a playback reference code that you could post in the group chat or Facebook or anything?
Yeah, I'll post the playback real soon. Like if everybody hits my Facebook or my Instagram at Haziq Ali, you spell it HAZIQALI, then I'll post the playback in a couple seconds.
Appreciate that. All right.
Okay, no problem, Josh. Thanks for tuning in, man. All right, ladies and G's, so we're going to be out of here. That was 5 minutes. And I really love everybody for being here. We'll see y'all again in 7 days. And have a good evening, millionaires.
You too.